Imagine if the FIFA World Cup happened every single year. Fans would love it, right? More matches, more drama, more champions. But here's the surprising truth. If the World Cup happened too often, it might lose the very thing that makes it special. Every 4 years, billions of people stop what they're doing to watch nations battle for football's greatest prize. Cities come alive. Streets fill with flags. Entire countries unite behind a single team. So why do we wait 4 long years between tournaments? Who decided that schedule? And has football always worked this way? The answer takes us back nearly a century to the origins of the World Cup itself. Today, the FIFA World Cup is the biggest sporting event on Earth. It attracts billions of viewers, generates enormous revenue, and creates legends that live forever. Players dream about it from childhood. Fans count down the years until kickoff. But when FIFA first created the tournament, there was no guarantee it would become a global phenomenon. In fact, choosing to hold it every 4 years was one of the most important decisions in football history. To understand why, we need to travel back to the 1920s. Before the World Cup existed, international football looked very different. The Olympic Games were considered the biggest stage for national teams. Football was played at the Olympics, and many people believed that was enough. However, there was one major problem. The Olympics were controlled by the International Olympic Committee, not FIFA. FIFA wanted its own global tournament dedicated entirely to football, a tournament where the world's best national teams could compete without Olympic restrictions. In 1928, FIFA President Jules Rimet proposed creating an international football championship. The idea was approved, and preparations began for the first World Cup. That tournament took place in Uruguay in 1930. Now comes the key question. Why wasn't it scheduled every year? The answer was simple. Travel. Remember, this was long before modern air travel. Many teams had to spend weeks crossing oceans by ship just to reach the tournament. European nations traveling to South America faced enormous costs and logistical challenges. Holding such a tournament every year would have been nearly impossible. Even every 2 years would have placed a huge burden on players, clubs, and national associations. A 4-year cycle provided enough time for countries to prepare financially, organize travel, and build excitement. But logistics were only part of the story. FIFA also wanted the tournament to feel rare. Think about events that happen every year. They become routine. But events that happen only occasionally become special. The World Cup was designed to be football's ultimate prize, a once-in-a-generation opportunity. A tournament so rare that players might only get 3 or 4 chances in their entire careers. That scarcity created value. Every World Cup suddenly felt historic. Every match mattered more. Every victory became unforgettable. And that decision helped shape football culture forever. Here's a fascinating fact. Many legendary players have played in only one World Cup. An injury, a failed qualification campaign, or simply bad timing can end a player's dream. For example, some footballers spend their entire careers preparing for a World Cup and never get another opportunity. That's how precious the tournament is. Another interesting fact is that the 4-year cycle wasn't unique to football. The Olympic Games already followed a 4-year schedule. Since international sports calendars were built around that rhythm, the World Cup naturally fit into a similar pattern. There were moments when the cycle was interrupted. The 1942 and 1946 World Cups never happened because of the Second World War. Instead of celebrating football, much of the world was dealing with a global conflict. The tournament eventually returned in 1950 and continued its 4-year tradition. Over the decades, FIFA occasionally discussed changing the schedule. Some people proposed a World Cup every 2 years. Supporters argued it would generate more excitement and revenue. But critics believed it would damage the tournament's prestige. Many fans, players, coaches, and football organizations felt that waiting 4 years is exactly what makes the World Cup magical. The anticipation becomes part of the experience. Think about the emotions surrounding a World Cup. Fans spend years debating which team will win. Young players emerge and become superstars. National teams evolve through entire generations. Rivalries grow stronger, stories develop over time. That simply wouldn't happen if the tournament arrived every year. The 4-year gap creates anticipation. It allows football history to build naturally. When a World Cup finally begins, it feels like the culmination of years of dreams, preparation, and expectation. That's why moments like a winning goal, a giant killing upset, or lifting the trophy become memories that last forever. The rarity of the event gives every moment greater meaning. So, why does the World Cup only happen every 4 years? Originally, it was a practical decision. Travel was difficult, organization took time, and international football needed room to breathe. But over time, something unexpected happened. The 4-year gap became one of the tournament's greatest strengths. It transformed the World Cup from just another competition into a global celebration that fans eagerly await. The waiting became part of the tradition. The rarity became part of the magic. And nearly a century later, that same formula continues to make the World Cup the most anticipated event in football. Because sometimes, the reason something feels so special is simply because you can't have it every year. If you enjoyed this football history story, make sure to subscribe for more FIFA World Cup 2026 content, football documentaries, and fascinating stories from the beautiful game. And let me know in the comments, would you prefer a World Cup every 2 years, or should it stay every 4 years?